Good evening, everyone. It is 7 p.m. and I call this February 23rd, 2021 regular council meeting to order. To begin with, through our CEO, I'd like to ask Manager Bourne to say a few words about the pink shirts that councillors are wearing.
Thank you so much, Your Worship, members of council. It's exciting to be here tonight. Although we are a day early, we with the town have been participating in Pink Shirt Day now for 6 years as part of our Regional Vision for Nonviolence coalition activities. So a little bit about Pink Shirt Day. It started back in 2007. There was 2 high school boys in Nova Scotia who organized, I guess, a protest after they had heard about a grade 9 student being bullied for he was wearing a pink shirt at school. So the next morning, well, that evening they went and cleared out the local store of all the pink tank tops they could find. And the next morning they met everybody at the doors of the school and handed them out. And Pink Shirt Day was started. And so it's become a real worldwide phenomenon. I know the province of Alberta celebrates, it happens all across Canada. We see Pink Shirt Day in different areas of the world. And it's really exciting that we've seen such great pickup in our community. And it's a wonderful way to raise awareness of our intolerance for bullying and inclusion. So thanks for participating. I look forward to seeing lots of people in pink tomorrow, probably all virtually, but I'm glad that everybody participates, and thank you so much for being a part of it. So many years in a row.
Thank you very much for that, Manager Bourne. First of all, I'd like to have the adoption of the agenda. CEO Thompson, are there any additions?
No, Your Worship, just some clarification. An updated 6.2 document that's on the East Area Storm. Somehow we the numbers that we had didn't correlate with what was in the tender recommendation from Stantec Engineering, so I apologize for that. The good news is the amount that's in the recommendation is now lower than it was, so that's good news. So it wasn't because of cost savings. It was probably a mistake by myself, which I'll own up to at this time.
Thank you. Council, do any of you have anything that you'd like to add? Not seeing anybody. Could I get a motion to accept the agenda as presented? I saw Councillor Olford first.
I'll move as presented.
Debate on that motion. All in favor? We have no delegations this evening, no public hearing, and no business arising from the minutes. Our first order of business is 6.1, our CEO report. CEO Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. We continue to put the procedures in place to protect our staff and public through this pandemic, including the hand washing, masks, increased cleaning, and social distancing. We continue to have virtual meetings such as this one tonight, and we've also increased the number of employees working remotely to counter any risks. We've also have had the alternators working alternately in and out of the office. This will ensure that should there be a positive case that we're not caught in a compromising situation with the number of staff that would have to be quarantined. So we continue to do that. We are looking at resumption of staff returning to the workplace March 1st, should data continue to indicate that that there's a downward path with a pandemic. Your Worship, as you mentioned, we welcome Kalina Van Winsen to our organization as our executive assistant. Her first day was last Monday, February 16th. I'd like to take the time to thank Lori Logan, who has filled in, doing a great job during the recruitment process, and her effort is certainly appreciated. Lori will backfill and assist when needed, so we continue to appreciate her help on that. We're currently recruiting for the positions of peace officer and economic development officer. We've been receiving great interest in both these positions, and are continue to see applications come in. So we look forward to fill those positions here in the near future. February 4th, myself, along with Manager Bourne and the BHPARC chairperson, Anna Marie Foote, provided a tour of the local clinic space and of the community for physician recruit. AHS Central Zone Medical Affairs organized these tours, and we look forward and are optimistic as more tours are expected here in the near future. The tour went very well, and we hope to hear some positive news in the future. We also enjoyed having the opportunity to tour this individual around our community and show everything that it has to offer. So I felt that we did a very good job and did the best that we could. Definitely the weather that day wasn't the greatest, but I'm quite certain that we'll see some good results either from this tour or tours in the future. The next meeting of the committee takes place on March 16th. Director Barnes will be providing an update on the Eagle Builder Center project later on this meeting. Council did have an opportunity to take part in a tour of the project earlier today, so thank you to those council members that were able to make themselves available. There was also a tour for the library board earlier at 2 o'clock today as well. DIDS is currently working with our marketing communications division on seating sponsorship. So that work continues, and there's been very good interest, especially with season ticket holders. Administration recently met with ATCO Gas to look at sponsorship opportunities relating to the project. And also we've had some discussions with Fortis as well as for some sponsorship opportunities. Participated in the Brownlee Law LLP Emerging Trends Workshop held virtually February 18th. As I know a number of our council members did. This was the first year they've had it hosted it virtually, and I think it was a success. I did have a call from Michael Sullivan yesterday, who chaired that, at least the one on the 18th, and said that they had over 300 participants at each of those. So I think that was very positive for them. I've been assisting council in the development of an open letter to Premier Kenney outlining council's concerns as well as administration's and the lack of action in the provision of Alberta Registry Service outlet for our community. Press release has also been drafted, and that will include a link to the letter. And our hope is to draw as much attention as we can with the media and with the Premier and the ministers in this situation. So we hope to bring that to conclusion here tomorrow. Participation in the mediation hearing on the Northwest Storm project took place on January 11th, and there's a second hearing scheduled for March 9th. With community services, as council is aware, there was a decision to close the arena, the multiplex arena, due to COVID restrictions and limited ice activities. Both minor hockey and the skating club indicated that the restrictions and the nearing of the ice season and brought about the decision to end their respective seasons. So the ice has been taken out of the facility, and we look forward to the season resuming later on this year. Outdoor rinks and ponds are continue to be well used and are in excellent condition, even though that we've had some warm weather. The Light Up Blackfalds initiative is now concluded. The feature has once again drawn great support and appreciation by the public. Staff working on ice allocation and program scheduling for utilization of both arenas for the fall operation. We've completed numerous hazard assessments and standard operating guidelines for aquatics and children's services. We've continued to handle cancellations for bookings and refunds for programs and memberships. And we've been in discussion with Elections Canada for future election planning as a host facility at the Abbey Centre. With Fcss, a virtual youth programming, a home alone safety course will be taking place. We've participated in programming for the Youth Valentine's activities, as well as a virtually hosted youth terranium making session. Been advertising for the volunteer recognition for 2021, planning for a community drive-in as part of that event, and it's been a very difficult year to get the volunteer nominations for 2020. Lunchbox program continues with 160 plus children receiving breakfast, lunch, and snack supplies each week. With corporate services, we're preparing for the upcoming census with the project planning in the final stages. Notification has gone out via our website, social media. We've had in areas where there is, we've been hand delivering to a number of households as well. I think something like 300 households. So that is actually being undertaken as we speak. And also working on accounting software upgrade. That's been completed. The custom Questica report build is continuing, expected to be completed by the end of the first quarter. T4s have been issued and the LAPP reporting has been completed. The GST audit from CRA is underway and the year-end audit is also underway. IT is working with finance and Diamond to solve some post-year-end errors. So as council may or may not be aware, we had some issues with accounts payable and creation of checks for that, but that's all been rectified. IT has been continuing to assist staff in working remotely and with training and setting up Zoom for remote council meetings as well. Infrastructure and Planning Services Department developing a Lacombe Lake Management Plan outline for the Northwest Storm Project, negotiation of the East Area Stormwater Phase 2 and 3 project work with low bidder to bring revised project costs within budget scope, and council will see that item before council tonight. The reviewing of the engineering request for proposal submissions with recommendations to come to the March 9th council meeting. Ongoing development of the Gregg Street realignment and parking plaza project for a tender, which is expected to be released at the end of this week. And the review of transit stop agreement with the city of Red Deer, safety auditing of current processes and contractor management coordination continues. And continued work with CP Rail for the new crossing location. We received quotes and noticed that there would be potential cost savings for reuse of equipment during the actual construction. We've also informed that the project would meet the requirements for Transport Canada's rail safety program that we will be applying for and hope to receive up to 50% of that project cost back to us. The grant also covers safety fencing, which we will also be looking at and applying for. And there'll be more information coming to council on this this item in the future. Public Works continues with snow removal on priority 5 roads throughout the town. If all goes well, priority 5 should be completed over the next little while. We posted the request for proposal for the grader on Alberta Purchasing Connection, January 29th, with the close date of February 25th, which is tomorrow. So the draft RFP for the tandem is complete and will also be posted shortly. We approved the enterprise asset management software RFP through council on February 9th. It's been posted to, the RFP has been posted to APC on February 10th with a closing date of March 18th. Hosted the annual ATCO gas meeting where discussions took place on upcoming capital projects, damage prevention, approval process, etc. Infrastructure Services Manager participated in Extended Producer Responsibility 101 website hosted by Recycling Council of Alberta on January 26th. We've had continued progress on the drafting of the environmental stewardship strategy, continued progress on the old landfill remediation and delineation project. Infrastructure Property Services Director, Manager, and our GS Coordinator participated in a 3-day training through IAMA and AUMA cohort program, January 13th to 15th. Participation in the cohort program is a requirement as part of the FCM MAMP grant approval, which we received. The GS Coordinator and Infrastructure Services Manager participated in the IAMA virtual workshop February 9th and 10th, and participation in this workshop is also a requirement of the grant approval. The GS coordinator continues to prepare asset data for the implementation into enterprise asset management system. Public Works is working with HR in the recruitment of a temporary labor, which would be probably an 8-month program. An operator one for a 3-month program in February, March to supplement staffing shortages due to leaves. Enforcement Protective Services, we've continued to meet with the Solicitor General along with other communities and suppliers in the transition to e-ticketing, which is mandated by the province to be in place by the end of the year. Community Peace Officer Jordan Ward has resigned and has accepted a position in Sylvan Lake where he resides. So we are, as mentioned, we are recruiting for that position. RCMP completed a comprehensive firearms trafficking investigation in partnership with 11 other detachment units and agencies. The investigation was initiated by the Blackfalds RCMP and focused on the purchasing and trafficking of firearms. On February 12th, 2 search warrants were executed, one in Red Deer and the other in Blackfalds. 3 adults were arrested and firearms were seized from these residents. In total, 54 charges were laid against the 3 individuals. Fire services are very pleased to have a gear drying rack designed, constructed, and donated by Southern Irrigation. They're continuing to work on the fans that will be incorporated into these structures to expedite the drying times for their turnout gear. Fire services have completed the search training maze, which has been constructed in the old Public Works Quonset. Occupational health and safety work is in progress, moving forward with the contractor management and incorporation into CorePoint. Plans are being put in place to do audits. 3 departments within the town as part of Chief Cote and Deputy Chief Elder and Manager Morrison's certification in OH&S auditing through AMSHA. The hopes are that this will provide us with a position as to where we are in relation to being ready to apply for CORE. Emergency management, February 25th, Manager Morrison will participate along with other LREMP partners in an emergency management program audit. Manager Morrison continues to monitor the current status of Alberta's COVID-19 status and recovering efforts, ensuring the town is moving forward and keeping in line with the regulations put in place by the province. And that, Your Worship and Council, is my CEO report.
Thank you, CEO Thompson. Councillors, are there any questions regarding the report? Councillor Appel?
Thank you. My question is in regards to the EDO position. Is there a plan to still have the Economic Development Committee meeting in March, or will that be postponed?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Appel, I think we will be postponing that meeting until we have a position in place.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Not seeing any. Could I get a motion to accept for information? Councillor Schwab?
I'll move to accept the CAO report as information.
Debate on the motion. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving along, we have the request for a decision on the East Area Stormwater Project, phases 2 and 3. And CEO Thompson, who will be presenting on this?
Your Worship, Director Warren will be speaking on this document.
Thank you very much, Director Warren.
Thank you, Worship Council. So I'll just bring up the share here of the screen, and then we'll, oh, it looks like I can't share the screen. Host disabled, participant screen sharing. Okay, well, we'll just go through it verbally then. So the East Area Stormwater Project tender award for phase 2 and 3 is presented tonight to Council. The East Area Stormwater Master Plan project will provide separate stormwater drainage infrastructure that will support the growth of the town of Blackfalds and help protect a sensitive segment of the Red Deer River Basin. The total project has received interim decision regarding the Water Act application that allows the town to develop into the future on the east side of town. The first phase of this project, as you all know, was constructed going from Blackfalds Lake to Range Road 27-0 and included some interim ditching within the linear wetland footprint to help dewater this area. During the 2021 budget deliberations, funds were allocated in the amount of $3.3 million to design and build Phase 2A and Phase 3. This work was tendered to include the ditching construction north of McKay Pond, the dredging of the ditch areas deeper to the inlet piping of Range Road 27-0, which is Phase 2A, as well as the dredging of the southern Blackfalds Lake outfall Phase 3. So the project was posted on APC as a pre-qualification, and then the tender was invitational to the 5 contractors chosen. However, only 4 pre-qualified contractors bid, and DB Bobcat was the lowest bid at $4.77 million. Due to the project coming in higher than budgeted or estimated, we have gone back to negotiation with the low bidder, DB Bobcat. We made some good strides to help mitigate these costs, but the real savings had to be realized through a minor redesign of the scope of work adjacent to McKay Pond. When we removed the planned excavation construction in this area and shallowed up the ditches, we were able to save approximately $1.7 million in material moving. This revision, along with our negotiations with the low bidder DB Bobcat, will result in the project that still meets the continued development of the McKay Corridor while reducing the overall cost in alignment with our budgetary limits of 2021. So with this comes the, if this was awarded tonight, the contractor would be eager to get moving with the dredging south of Blackfalds Lake due to the fact that there's been very limited frost in the area, and they want to get in there as soon as we can award this so that the work can be dredged out. The remainder of the work east of McKay Pond will be done over the course of this year and into next winter to allow us to work in the wetland areas. So the award of Phase 2A and Phase 3 for this work to DB Bobcat for $2.92 million falls within the estimated or the established capital budget allocation of 2021 capital budget of $3.3 million. So what we're recommending tonight is that council award the East Area Stormwater Phase 2A and 3 ditching project to DB Bobcat for $2,927,608.05.
Thank you.
With that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Director Warren. Council, are there any questions on the report? I saw Councillor Hoover.
Yeah, I just have a question about the change of scope. Now, is that something that that will have to be undertaken at a later time, or was that an optional part for this project? And how does that impact the effectiveness of this system?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So through the chair to Councillor Hoover, yes, ultimately that area will have to be dug down deeper once the other areas of development occur. But what we're hoping is that we can utilize additional grant funds and the work when it does need to be done in 2025 or 2026 when the second phase is done, we would include that portion of the work as well.
Thank you. Councillor Stende?
Just subsequent.
Oh, subsequent? Councillor Hoover, subsequent?
That's fine. That's fine.
Councillor Stende?
I'm just curious if that's something that a developer would be able to undertake during the development of that area, just since it is dredging and they a lot of times require fill. So I wonder if that's an option for this project.
Director Waring?
Yes, through to the chair to Councillor Hoover. The scope of the work that we removed is about $1.7 million worth of excavation removals, and that's north of McKay Pond. So McKay Pond within the development area will be also rebuilt and constructed to its final alignment as part of the McKay Ranch development, but this area is the area to the north of that.
Deputy Mayor Stende?
So I have a couple questions. The first one is the change of scope. Was that part of Schedule 2 or Schedule 3?
The change of scope is to Schedule 2A, which is the major work within the just north and east of McKay Ranch Pond. And Schedule 3 is the dredging for approximately $300,000 south of Blackfalds Lake.
And then my second question would be, seeing as we're changing the scope of the project a considerable amount, does that negate the RFP that we put out and the bids that we received? If we were to put out another RFP with the new scope, do you think, or are we certain that they would continue to be the lowest bidder? Because I'm just having a small amount of trouble with the fact that we put out an RFP, but then changed the project hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we're not putting it back out to see whether or not we would have gotten better offers potentially from the other companies that bid originally.
Director Warren?
Thank you, Worship, through the chair to Councillor Sendy. The scope of the work, the cost for excavation and moving of that material was fairly equal across the bids, as well as with the scope or with the estimated cost from Stantec. So the ability in the tender gave us the ability to go through and negotiate with the low bidder. So that's what we did. And really it was the first, $300,000 or $400,000 was the negotiation part, but the other $1.7 million was basically to remove a large portion of that ultimate ditch design. So instead of doing a wide, deep ditch, we're doing a narrow, shallow ditch. So we are covered from the tender and the procurement process that we undertook.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was asking. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Not seeing anybody. We have a request for a decision. Does anybody wish to make the motion? Councillor Hoover?
Yeah, I will move the council award the East Area Stormwater Phase 2A and 3 ditching project to DB Bobcat for $2,927,608.05 excluding GST.
Thank you. Is there any debate on that motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Director Warren.
Thank you,
Moving
Worship.
along, we have the Fcss advocacy. CO Thompson, who will be presenting on this.
Manager Bourne, your worship.
Thank you. Manager Bourne.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. So this evening, one of the conversations that has sort of been coming up in the last few months as we are rolling into provincial budget season, with our pandemic response taking up so much of our energy, especially in social services, we expect our provincial budget to see some changes in the coming week, and regionally at our Fcss AA leadership meetings and at our regional meetings, there's been some discussion about the value of Fcss in our communities and how important it is that our voice in our community, our elected officials, are well schooled in the work that our Fcss does. I know in Blackfalds we're very fortunate. We have amazing buy-in. We have a wonderful Fcss community that really believes in the work that we're doing, and for that we're so grateful. And what we are hoping that I've attached here a toolkit that was presented by Fcss AA that was updated in November of 2020 that will support educating us so that when we are in conversations with our MLAs and with other people in our community, that we can use this information to raise awareness of Fcss. And what we're hoping for is that we will be able to provide a letter from our mayor and council in support of Fcss so that we don't get forgotten in upcoming budget deliberations. So the recommendation, so one of the things that our FCSS does in Blackfalds that is very, very valuable is we have a provincial relationship with the budget of 80% provincial and 20% municipal. And in our last several years, that has been nearly a 50-50 split. The support of the town of Blackfalds for the social prevention in our community is exceptional. And it would certainly be nice to see continued support from the province. I know when the pandemic first started, there was an immediate rollout of provincial funding that was funneled through FCSS across the province to meet the immediate needs in food security and whatever that looked like in people's communities. So that's definitely a show of support on a provincial level. And we just want to continue to share that message that FCSS is very valuable. So the recommendation this evening is that Council provide a letter of advocacy for continued FCSS funding to MLA Ron Orr.
Thank you. For clarification, Manager Bourne, is it your request that CEO Thompson, in conjunction with yourself, pen a letter, or we give yourself and CEO Thompson permission to pen a letter from Council? Is that your request?
Yes, absolutely, with support of Council as needed.
Great. Councillor Stende, and then Deputy Mayor Stende.
So I have two questions. The first one is this letter of advocacy inviting MLA Orr to meet with yourself to go over everything that encompasses FCSS, because that's how I read it, but I wasn't entirely sure because the administrative recommendation wasn't completely clear.
I feel like we're also very fortunate in that we have a great relationship with our local MLA Ron Orr, and that he has a pretty good understanding of FCSS in our community. And we have a great relationship. I've spoken to him on several occasions, specific surrounding our parent link and a little bit surrounding our Habitat for Humanity project that's upcoming. So I think the letter is mostly that he remembers and reminding him, educating him of some of our current initiatives and how valuable FCSS is in our community, so that he is well informed for the conversations that may take place at the legislature.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification on that. And then just subsequent as well, would it be pertinent potentially that Council also send an advocacy letter to Minister Sawhney on behalf of our council and our FCSS and our support of that, given the fact that she is the Minister for Community and Social Services, and it might make just a smidge more impact?
I don't think that we could ever say no to more advocacy in support of our FCSS.
Perfect. Thank you.
I was just informed that to the viewers that we might have had an IT difficulty. So if you are just tuning in right now, we apologize for the difficulty. We are right now working on an FCSS proposal. And I saw Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, so I have a question. When we talk about our 50-50 split by municipal portion, in that 50-50, the town of Blackfalds is putting in that 50, correct? But I believe the FCSS delivers a service that's beyond our municipality. It's not just to Blackfalds. We, in a sense, we have a partnership typically with Lacombe County, but we do have people from outside our community that also partake in the benefits of FCSS. Is that not correct?
Absolutely. We offer all of our programming barrier-free to those that choose to be involved. We do have a fairly tight regional boundary surrounding our Blackfalds district, yet a lot of our programs, if people consider Blackfalds their catchment area, if they are within the county or Lacombe City, we've even had individuals attend our presentations and programs that are from well beyond our borders from other communities. We have a great, strong regional community where we work together, and we definitely support anyone that is interested, unless it's out of scope and they specifically need to deal within their own community. but then we'll set them up with whoever that is that they need to access services from.
So subsequent to that, we see that there's a change with the school board structure for our area. We'll be having different representation, and they'll be doing some restructuring to what that zone means. And do you think FCSS will follow that in what we could see and support to a bigger area because of that?
Yeah, I think there is great potential there. We have wonderful relationships with Lacombe City as well as Lacombe County. We've had good support from both agencies, and we have great partners in all of our Lacombe County communities. It will be nice to be able to serve a larger community and have more people consider Blackfalds their home base, especially our high school students when that time comes. That's going to be very exciting. It will open up a whole bunch of new opportunity.
So I guess because I brought that up, if I may, including maybe Lacombe County and our schools included in that letter of support to the province, because we serve across the board to all of that, and asking them to participate in support as well.
Just for clarification, Councillor Taylor, are you asking us to contact the county and the city to ask for their support for this letter, because it will be coming from the town of Blackfalds? So I'm a little bit confused what you're requesting.
I think, Mike, I didn't mention the Lacombe County. We typically have a strong relationship with Lacombe County. That's typically who comes to Blackfalds. And I think if we ask them or give them notice of our letter, they don't necessarily have to be included, but asking them if they would support it also, because FCS is important, that, you know, that they would also have support for FCSS, because the budget, we've seen the budget over the years shrink, and then they recovered some. It not necessarily in the past has it represented population, which we've had all kinds of problems. But if we're asking for support, I think asking Lacombe County, just to mention that it has an impact across the board.
Are there any further comments? Not seeing anyone. Eddie, and I see Deputy Mayor Stendy's hand up.
Yeah, I'm prepared to make a motion that council provide a letter of advocacy for continued FCSS funding to MLA Ron Orr, and that council also send an advocacy letter on behalf of FCSS and council's support of FCSS to Minister Sawney.
Just for clarification, are you looking for two separate letters then?
I think that providing the same letter and sending it individually would be fine.
Thank you very much. Is there any debate on that motion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Manager Bourne. Moving along, we have the request for decision on the RCMP annual policing plan for 2021-22. CEO Thompson, who will be presenting on this?
Your Worship, I've asked Manager Morrison make himself available to speak on this.
Thank you very much, Manager Morrison.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. This matter is brought to your attention for your consideration. Each year, the RCMP meets with stakeholders and reviews the priorities they want to set for the coming year. This traditionally has been done in consultation with all their stakeholders at the same time, usually in one meeting. However, with the pandemic, that's not really something that can be done this year. And last year, they actually didn't set local priorities. They went with the national ones and the provincial ones that have been put in place, again, largely due to the pandemic that we've been facing for the year. Basically, this year, what they've done is they have put forth that they haven't put forth national priorities and they haven't put forth provincial priorities. What they're doing is they're putting forth to the communities that they serve to come up with what best is going to suit their community and their surrounding area, because we all go through different circumstances. Each area of the country is going through different circumstances. So they're realizing that, and they want to see what we as a community can put forth. So what they've asked is that we come up with 3 priorities as a community, and they're also asking this of the other areas that they police, such as Clive, County of Lacombe, County of Red Deer, and whatnot. And everybody's going to come forward with their 3 suggested policing priorities. And then on March 10th, they propose to have a virtual meeting with representatives from those communities and coming up with their set priorities. Usually they try to keep them fairly low to make it realistic, something that they can achieve during that year. And usually the priorities are very similar amongst communities, because we're all fairly close together and we're all seeing the same type of crime throughout our areas. One of the key things when considering policing priorities is they should address current trends in the community. Community is seeing. Usually it's what it is a formal operational plan involving the partners between the RCMP and the partnership between the town of Blackfalds and the RCMP. Some things that the RCMP has seen or the communities have seen in the last year and last 5 years is Mental Health Act calls for service. And these are some of the things we need to consider when we're looking at what we want to consider for priorities is what are we seeing in trends? You see the statistics come forward every month, and it's no secret that we've seen some increases in some areas, but we've seen some substantial decreases in others. For example, as I said, mental health has increased 67% over the last 5 years. We've seen an increase in collisions in our community of 59% over, again, that's over a 5-year period. Suspicious persons calls increased by 81%, again, over 5 years. That's a good statistic, because that shows that our community is getting active and the word is getting out that people are going to report when they do see things suspicious. So that's excellent that we're seeing such a high increase in that. The remaining statistics for the town of Blackfalds, for instance, property crime has seen a decrease of 21% since 2019 and a 5-year decrease of 35%. Again, that's a fantastic statistic, but it's something that we can't stop at either. We've been working hard at that, and we need to continue that attack on people that are coming in and attacking our property or breaking in and taking things that belong to our residents. Some of the suggestions that come up when reviewing the statistics, ways of policing moving forward is police community relations. What we're often hearing is from residents is that they're not seeing the police. There's many ways that this can be rectified, and it also has an immense effect when you look at lowering crime. The more you're seeing the police, you often see a decrease in crime as a result. And whether it's seeing them active in the schools or whether it's seeing them active in activities throughout town, those are some of the things that work well in fighting crime as well, helping with our residents in dealing with some of the issues they've got as a result of the crime and as a result of the pandemic that is hitting the world as a whole. Another thing is, as we said, with the accidents, increasing motor vehicle collisions, one of the things we may want to consider is safe roads. This continues to be a focus for most communities. When I look through other communities, and some of the things that they want is they want to continue safe road initiatives, whether that's through traffic enforcement initiatives or educational, promotional activities and whatnot. That's something that I think our community needs to focus on. We've done well. We've decreased the speed limit. We've seen some successes as a result of that. And I think we need to continue moving forward with that. Community engagement is another area we could look at. By focusing on community engagement, there can be an impact on every level of policing, but through police community relations, we also actively incorporate community engagement. Some of the initiatives that have been really well received within our town that the Blackfalds detachments put up in the last year or two is the crime mapping. The policing committee, which has been in place for several years, well, since the inception of the detachment here in town, and it's working well. It's a way that the community can communicate to the police and voice their opinions and what they're seeing through their representatives. Another area is Rural Crime Watch Group. While it isn't overly active within our community, we are seeing movement there. We're becoming more active with it. Our peace officers are representing themselves at the meetings with Rural Crime Watch, and we're working together to realize that crime isn't just in a silo within itself within the town of Blackfalds. We as Central Albertans are seeing the same criminals throughout our areas. So it's necessary that we all work together. So getting involved in some of those programs is essential, and we have been doing that. Some of the other things we may look at for priority is focus on crime reduction strategies. The RCMP have been working heavily on this. CAO Thompson reported a matter from the RCMP there earlier that was specifically as a result of some of the crime reduction initiatives that the RCMP have put in place. They're working well with the crime reduction units and all the units within Central Alberta. I think these are some of the things that they're really having success in, and they've seen as a result a lot of prolific criminals have been taken off the streets. Property crime, as I said earlier, property crime continues to go down. However, a property crime at any time has a negative effect on the victim and the public as a whole by decreasing the feeling of safety within the community. This is an area, as I said before, we cannot afford to let up, as it has such a large detrimental effect on our residents when they are victimized by property crime. While crimes against persons have seen an increase, a large part of this may be due to the pandemic and also the increase in population throughout the town of Blackfalds over the last several years. It's also something that's seen an increase throughout North America as a result of the pandemic. So one of the areas we could look at as a priority is prevent and reduce crimes against persons. As observed through the statistics, in 2020, we've seen an increase. This increase was expected. A lot of stress, financial hardship on residents we have in our community. I would suggest, or we would suggest, that by encouraging the police to choose police community relations, property crime, and safe roads as priorities, we may see some positive effects on the mental health of our residents, an overall stronger feeling of safety, and better relations through the building of trust in our community. There's many we could choose, many we could look at, but I feel that as a community, these are some of the things that we really need to focus on and continue to focus on. So the recommendation would be that council accept the recommendation of administration in identifying the RCMP 3 policing priorities for the 2021 year as police and community relations, safe roads, and property crime. I would also suggest that a member of the policing committee attend the virtual meeting, or more than one, that's going to be held on March 10th with the RCMP as a whole. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you very much, Director Morrison. First of all, I'd like to thank yourself and all of administration for bringing this to council. This is, I think, the first time that I've seen these actual priorities come before council for their consideration, and I really appreciate that that's being done this year. I also, possibly at the policing committee meeting, we could have that discussion about attendance at the March 10th meeting from members of that committee. So with that, I'll open it up for council for any questions, and I see Councillor Hoover.
Yes, thank you. So my question would just be more where the heavy lifting is going to be done for this. Is, you say administration, but is this something that's going to be an ad hoc subcommittee of policing to make these decisions? Are we looking at reaching out to the community with a survey listing these priorities? Or are we simply going to do this as a collective with other communities in the region?
Usually,
so Director Morrison, you could explain what the policing, the RCMP detachment does each year.
Usually what happens, Councillor Hoover, is they meet with representatives from all the communities. That usually includes, say, principals, people that have active roles in the community, and councillors and whatnot, representative from each community. Unfortunately, due to the situation we find ourselves in this year, that's not going to happen. So what they asked was that each community come forward with 3 policing priorities, and then meet as a whole with representatives from those respective communities. My thoughts were that with the policing committee being a representation of our community, that they could bring that forward. And on top of that, by bringing it forward to council, we thought council is a strong representative of the community as well, and they could see these suggestions and knowing what's going on in the community, decide whether that is something they want to see move forward, or if there's other suggestions they may have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
If this does pass, then this would be something added to the agenda for the next meeting. It's not currently on the agenda for the next policing committee, but should it pass tonight, I would imagine it could be added.
It will be added. I actually sent myself an email tonight.
Thank you.
And for the meeting.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Councillor Schwab?
I just want to thank you for bringing this forward, and it's so well documented. I so appreciate this. I love the 3 choices that you have. If it wasn't a COVID year, I would have selected community engagement, but I don't think that would be an appropriate choice this year. But I do thank you very much, Manager Morrison, for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Not seeing any. Did anybody wish to make a motion? I saw Councillor Olford.
I'll move that council accept the recommendation of administration in identifying the RCMP 3 policing priorities for the 2021 year as police and community relations, safe roads, and property crime.
Thank you for that. Is there any debate on that motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Director Morrison.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, we go to the Municipal Award of Excellence. CO Thompson.
Thank you, Worship. Since 2002, the annual Municipal Excellence Award has been recognizing and awarding municipalities in their successes and accomplishments for the provision of municipal services in Alberta municipalities. For the 2021 program, submissions will be accepted for 5 categories, including partnership, building economic strength, service delivery, innovation, and enhancing community safety, as well as a category for smaller municipalities. Attached to the request for decision was a appendice A, and that was correspondence that was received from Municipal Affairs Minister McIver, inviting participation by municipalities across the province. This award opportunity has been discussed with administration. It was agreed that the town of Blackfalds does have an accomplishment worthy to be considered under the partnership category. In this category, submissions will be evaluated on delivery of leading municipal practices involving regional cooperation. Administration is recommending that the Eagle Builder Center project be our municipality submission. It is felt that the project is worthy of award consideration on many fronts, including intermunicipal consultation and cooperation with Lacombe County through the facility needs assessment and facility design, the commitment of capital funding cost sharing for the facility, as well as ongoing for operational cost sharing of the complex. In addition, Lacombe County has participated in the development of the works for the facility by providing in-kind services to the town. There is also cooperation with other orders of government. Provincial and federal governments have recognized the value of this project through the approval of grant funding under both the provincial MSI capital grant funding program, as well as the federal gas tax fund. With agencies, there's been tremendous effort put forward in the consultation process, coordination and cooperation with the local library board, staff, and Parkland Regional Library via the inclusion of the new library facility into the Eagle Builder Center, which will meet the current and future needs of the community. The blending of arts and culture space along and programming with that of sports and recreation activities is innovative and will assist in growing interest in all the activities, services, and programs provided provided out of the complex. The inclusion of the newly established AHL team to play out of the Eagle Center has also been a positive partnership through established agreements, cost sharing arrangements, as well as assistance in the marketing and promotion of the Eagle Builder Center and the community itself. With community groups, there's been numerous community groups involved through the consultation process and advancement of the project. This would include school groups and sport user groups, largely through various open houses and meetings. The Dual Ice Development Society has worked and continues to work with the town to provide consultation and assist in fundraising activities. And finally, with businesses, local businesses have played a pivotal role in the co-general contractor position, providing a large part of the structural component at a reduced cost of other systems. Their expertise and superior product has not only reduced cost, but it's also reduced construction timelines. They've committed to naming rights sponsorship and will be providing in-kind services for site work of the facility. Administration is optimistic that this project meets the guidelines of the Municipal Award of Excellence and could be considered for an award. And therefore, administrative recommendation is that Council directs administration to make an application to the 2021 Minister's Award of Municipal Excellence for the Eagle Builder Center project under the partnership category.
Thank you, CEO Thompson. Councillor Taylor, did I see your hand up for a comment?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I agree. When it comes to this project, really is a measure of excellence. One of the points also is, while our province is in an economic downturn, we forged ahead. It was within our capital plan. It was a needed project, but it really sustained our community. I mean, there was hundreds of jobs that were created, 170 just with Eagle Builders in building this project, and that goes beyond our community out into the region. This project will provide tourism. It will I mean, it's a win-win beyond measure in that regard. It gives us, it expands our municipal sustainability and sustainability of the region by doing this project at this particular time. I mean, if we were to build this at any other time, we would probably see substantial cost increase. And just by having, it was not an easy decision to spend money when everything is tough, but this was a tough decision. And I think we provided good leadership in doing that. So just that, that when you mentioned the hockey team, I think that was a private partnership in some fashion, having the AHHL come in on that, which is kind of represents a partnership that's kind of unique to this facility. It's more than a sponsorship that we got from other sponsors, but that P3 portion of this helped to enhance all of those objectives. Whether they're going to bring tourism in, it's going to provide so much to our community. It just adds a little bit. There's just a little bit more punch on that P3 portion of it, and that's just my comments on that.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? I'd like to thank administration for bringing this forward. I agree with Councillor Taylor that it's an excellent project. I think we have a good chance of being up on the podium at the next time these are presented. And I really like the comments about the fact that this also included a lot of economic benefit, and the Friends of the Library were also included in that. So I'm hoping that that will be included in the application as it goes forward. We have an administrative recommendation. Does anybody wish to make that? I saw Councillor Powell first.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm definitely prepared to make the motion that Council directs administration to make an application to the 2021 Minister's Award of Municipal Excellence for the Eagle Builder Center project under the partnership category.
Thank you very much for that motion. Is there any debate on that motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And we look forward to some positive results from that. Moving along, we have the Habitat for Humanity build project. CEO Thompson.
Thank you, Worship. At the November 26th, 2019 council meeting, we had Karen Vavrick, the Chief Executive Officer for Habitat for Humanity in Red Deer, provided an overview of their operations and plans for their project build in Blackfalds, and which includes 2 duplexes located at 5600, 5604, 5608, and 5612 Vista Trail. And those units are currently under construction, and the groundbreaking ceremony took place this past August 12th. And there's a value of this project of around $700,000. In the fall of 2020, a request of financial support was made by Habitat for Humanity for the Blackfalds project, and the following resolution was made at the November 10th meeting, and that was Deputy Mayor Sandy moved that council approve $10,000 in funding for the Blackfalds Habitat for Humanity project and financial support in waiver of permit fees and other opportunities for support with site development, and that was carried unanimously. Administration has had ongoing communication with Habitat for Humanity on the Blackfalds project, including opportunities to support the project through team build. This provides team building for participants while providing the opportunity to learn new skills and work collaboratively on tasks that will help with the completion of this building project. Habitat for Humanity Development Communications Coordinators indicated there is an upcoming opportunity for a team build on any of the following days, being March 23rd, 24th, or 25th. The project would include finishing work and painting, and the team build group is for up to a maximum of 10 participants, and administration is visioning the group to be made up of volunteers from both council and staff. There's a second team build planned for spring, and once warmer weather comes, and that will include landscape work, which will be the final component. So in participating in team build, the following is provided by Habitat for Humanity: a day of hands-on building on the construction site, on-site orientation and training, on-site signage with the team name and logo, co-branded official Habitat Red Deer t-shirts, food and beverages for lunch, commemorative photo for the group on site, recognition on our website, social media, newsletter, and invitation to the home dedication ceremony that takes place later. That being said, the administration is looking for council to provide a preferred date for the team build opportunity and indicate individual participation in this event, taking into account that there's up to 10 individuals, 10 people that can take part in this. So we're looking at creating a list so that we can get back to Habitat for Humanity and get this set up.
Thank you. When I was looking at those 3 dates, I'll note that on the 23rd, we have a council meeting in the evening, and during the day, we have the President Summit on emergency services. On the 24th, we have the emergency summit on emergency services as well. The 25th, from my schedule, is open. Council, do you have other conflicts on those 3 days that you might want to bring in? I saw Councillor Hoover.
Yeah, 25th would be my preference as well.
Councillor Appel.
I was actually just going to say I already have a work event that week, so I won't be able to attend any of those days, but I would absolutely like to put my name forward for the spring, for the next dates.
Thank you. Councillor Alford.
The 25th, I have a Parkland Regional Library executive meeting in the morning.
So I think that we're going to have conflicts on all of those days. But what I think we need to choose a day, and then maybe an invite could go out from CEO Thompson, and we could decide which ones we could go forward with. And Councillor Stendig, Deputy Mayor Stendig.
I wanted to say, for one, how excited I am that they are finally allowed to have team builds again, because I've been looking forward to this. I will absolutely clear my schedule on the 25th if that works for even 1 or 2 other council members. From my understanding, from what CEO Thompson was saying, was it doesn't have to be all of the council members at this particular one. There will be 2 events to choose from. So if you can't make it to this one, there will be another one in the spring. So put my name forward for the 25th. I will absolutely make sure that I am in attendance.
25th is also my preference. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a great day. I'm helping my son move in these days here. And I'm also working on my daughter's wedding for May 22nd. But if I can make it work for the 25th, and I can get a little bit of help from my son and my son-in-law, it would be a benefit. So I'm going to try to talk them into lending a hand. Colton Zolik has done a few of these habitat projects before in Saskatchewan, and the boys have done this stuff. Brandon's dad actually used to do this stuff, so he was involved quite a bit in the past. So I'll try to get a little bit of help if the rest of the councillors, if I can get them, and I'll give you guys some feedback shortly.
So I think I'm hearing the 25th is right now the preferred day. Did somebody wish to make that a motion? Deputy Mayor?
I would be more than happy to declare March 25th as the preferred date for the team build opportunity. And I believe I saw myself, Councillor Olfert, and Mayor Poole as, no, not Councillor Olfert. Sorry, Councillor Hoover, Mayor Poole, and myself as being willing to be in attendance. And we can put an invitation out to staff to confirm the additional to make a team of 10.
So what I'd suggest is that we ask CEO Thompson to put out an invitation to all of council and then work on the staff after that if they're, if we don't manage to fill that out. Does that work
Perfect.
for you, CEO Thompson?
That works well, Your Worship. Thank you.
So the motion made by Councillor Stendy is for March 25th. Is there any debate on that motion? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving along, we have the International Women's Day. CEO Thompson, who did you want to present on this?
Your Worship, I've asked Manager Bourne to speak on this.
Thank you. Manager Bourne.
Your Worship, members of council. So we we were alerted of an opportunity brought forth by the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association on International Women's Day. There is going to be a virtual opportunity over the lunch hour on March 8th that is available to anyone, not just elected officials, anyone that has an interest in learning a little bit about women in politics. So this conversation has been struck a little bit over the last couple of months to discuss women in politics, and International Women's Day bringing this opportunity to us from the AUMA is going to be a really awesome idea. So just a little bit here about International Women's Day. It's a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity. Significant activity is witnessed worldwide as groups come together to celebrate women's activities or rally for women's equality. So on our AUMA website, which is available to anyone, is quite a bit of information regarding women in politics and what's going on there. And just interesting statistic to share with you. In Canada, women occupy only 18% of the mayor's positions and 28% of councillor seats. I know in Central Alberta, we have a very rich group of women involved in politics, which is very exciting for us. So there is a link to an Eventbrite on the agenda item available online as well. If anyone is interested in accessing this session, it is, we can make it available through our media channels as well. So one of the initiatives being advocated through the work of AUMA is supporting women becoming involved in politics at all levels of government, not just municipally, although there's a great opportunity in 2021. There are a variety of initiatives, including resources, campaign support materials, as well as a listing of agencies across the province supporting and advocating for increased participation for women in local governments. We're very lucky in Blackfalds. We have 3 of our elected officials out of 7 that are involved. And so it's a great opportunity for the town to make an impact through the recognition and acknowledgement of the strength that women have brought to Blackfalds through their involvement in our local government. So we are welcoming any input or direction from council on this initiative so that we can plan any events or programs to assist. Our administrative recommendation, there are 2. We would like that council recognize March 8th as International Women's Day as well, and that council direct administration to initiate actions to promote women in politics if that is something that our council is interested in.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. I thank God for women every day. In politics, I think, you know, as far as I've known, and I think going back 3 decades, we've had pretty much an even mixture of women on council. There was a term there where we had more women than we had men. So, and you know, and all the time for the last 20 years going to AUMA, I have seen a very strong complement, almost 50% across the board. So, you know, I think it is good. I think maybe other parts of the world are not up to us. We certainly have done that, and we've had some amazing women that have been in municipal government in our municipality. So I think it's a great thing. You know, one thing though, through AUMA, I know 20 years, I've seen a lot of women's stuff on there, but I've never had a man's day yet. And I'm hoping one day we have that. There are areas, you know, where men are not on parity. If you go into the healthcare business and a lot of things, there are a lot of places where men are not very frequent in those jobs. So, and there's just support us men need. I know when I go to men's retreat, we always do something stupid. So hopefully we wouldn't do that. Just a joke, of course.
Are there any other further comments on this? Deputy Mayor Stende?
I am thrilled to see this come forward. As all of us women on council know, it is not 50-50 when you go to AUMA. It is definitely more men in the room than women. As much as we'd like to think that Central Alberta, that Alberta as a whole is gender parity friendly, that isn't it's not the case. As every year, we see statistics come out stating that men still make more money than women, that men still hold more jobs than women do, especially when it comes to leadership positions. As well, I did bring this forward at the beginning of the year, at the end of last year, actually. I think I talked to CEO Thompson about the possibility of, with this being an election year, holding a open forum or a coffee night or some type of event to encourage women in our community to come out and speak to current and previous women who have been on council, as well as women who have been in school board trustee positions, to have a conversation and ask questions about what it's like to be on council, what voting means, how to speak to your elected officials when you have a concern or an issue that you want to bring forward. I think that, especially given the low voter turnouts that we have in Blackfalds historically, with the last election being one of the most dismal I think I've seen yet, I think that this, of all years, being the she-demic that we've seen, with 70% of the job losses in the past year being women's jobs, I think this is the year that we need to build up women and encourage them to take those leadership positions. So I would like to make a motion that council form a working committee, which will include the current councilwomen and administration, to include and execute those plans to encourage women and persons of minority groups within our community to become more involved and educated with municipal politics, including but not limited to a virtual open house with councilwomen, residents, potentially, like I said, previous council persons, women as well. And I would also very much like to see us reach out to some of our female trustees for the school board positions to come and talk to women in our community about what it means to run for that position. Because from my understanding, we still haven't seen any nominations come forward for that position. And I know that we have a lot of time still, but I would really like to see that position filled. And we have some amazing, incredible, very involved women in our community who would fill that position quite nicely. So that is the motion that I am putting forward, and hopefully the rest of council will vote in favor.
As a point of order, I will accept that motion. And then we will go back to the administrative recommendations as well. I guess you threw out quite a bit, and I'm not sure administration was ready for that. So I was wondering if you have it in front of you, if you could reiterate that in a manner that administration can get it down and copied out, so that we know that we have that motion before us.
You bet I can. Sorry, I'm a little bit passionate about it, so I might have rambled a little. I move that council form a working committee, which will include current council women and administration, to formulate and execute plans encouraging women and persons in minority groups to become more involved and educated within municipal politics, including but not limited to a virtual open house with council women, trustees, and residents.
Administration, were you able to get that motion?
Yes, Your Worship, I have it.
Thank you very much. Debate on that motion, and I see Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of this motion. I really, first of all of council is the same. We get paid the same. It's straightforward, open and honest. The process to become a counselor is the same for everybody across the board. We don't discriminate it. It's always been open. I don't like the idea to think that we've never discouraged. I've encouraged other counselors who have run or even on this council to say, hey, you should run for council. I think, you know, we've had as many people not elected who ran for council who are women and men. We've had a fair share for 3 decades. So for us to start a committee on an issue that I don't see is there. I see, you know, each counselor is respected for their opinions. And what happens in other municipalities, I think might be different. Most of the people who have run for trustee have been women in the past. So what I'm saying is we're putting effort on something where I don't see that there's an issue. I respect the passion that's in this, but I just don't see the need, because the numbers and the facts are there. Historically, we've had women. Matter of fact, we've had our last CO before this CO was a woman. We've had as many women in our municipality, and we've encouraged it. The process is open and honest to everybody, and it's not. I think when you, that's just the reason why I wouldn't support this motion.
Thank you. Any other debate on this motion? Councillor Schwab?
I just want to comment back to Councillor Taylor. As a woman on council, it was really hard for me to make a decision the first time I wanted to run. But when I got in contact with other councillors and the mayor, the previous mayor, they gave me an educated decision on why I should be running. So as a woman with children and working, it's great to have contacts with other women in politics, just being able to ask those questions and get an educated decision on whether you should run for council or not. That's not saying that it's a woman versus man, it's just giving women education on if they want to even run for council.
Thank you. Any further debate on that? Councillor Taylor? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I think it's difficult for anybody who wants to run, whether it's men or women. I don't think it's not gender or it's not by ethnicity. Everybody struggles when they run, and they have to, you know, why would I do that? I mean, I started on council when my kids were small. It was just as difficult for me to make that decision. Just because I'm a man and I have children, it's just as a commitment for me, not having that time for my children. So I do understand that was a difficulty, but that's a difficulty for everybody. At the end of the day, for 3 decades, we have had a complement of just as many women running as there have been men. We have never discouraged anybody from running. The process is the same for everybody. I don't see, there's no disparity, you know, and to put all that time and effort on something that's not there, you know, like, I guess the thing is I would want the same across the board, to really be fair. You know, when I'm sitting here, I've sat across the table for 20 years with women on council. And I've never seen a difference until just these last few years. All of a sudden, there's something happening. But for 3 decades, we've treated each other equally. And I really don't see us putting a specific effort on a problem that's not there. You know, everybody has struggles to making decisions. And that's just the way I feel about it. I support women on all aspects on doing things. I don't see a difference. You know, I'm married to a woman and she manages an office. You know, I have daughters, and it doesn't matter what people make as choices. I support them for whatever they do. But I don't see that we are being unfair in any way, that we have to pursue that.
I'll go to Councillor Hoover, then Deputy Mayor Sende.
I'm wondering, I'm looking at the second administrative recommendation, which I think essentially could achieve what Deputy Mayor Stende was looking at. What she's asking for is fairly specific. I'm wondering what administration would have done in order to, it says initiate actions to promote this initiative. I'm wondering if that would have included an ad hoc committee or any other similar actions that that Deputy Mayor Stende was including in her motion.
CEO Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Hoover. We did have some initial discussions. We had talked about bringing something forward at the end of March, early part of April. We did have some discussions about a committee. Definitely we've had discussions about approaching former council members, women to participate in a panel, looking at some business leaders and things like that. I was glad to hear about, about having some female trustees from the school board. So that was our plan, and to implement some actions on our website to draw attention to this tremendous opportunity for anybody, any women that want to get involved in politics. So we just started having some of those discussions, and we'll continue on here in the coming weeks.
So just one question: if a Deputy Mayor Stende's motion were to pass, could we substitute that for number 2?
Definitely.
Deputy Mayor Stende.
I just wanted to make one comment. While I understand that I probably will not change anyone's opinion, particularly people who are quite adamant in their position, I cannot expect a man to understand how it feels to be a woman campaigning any more than a person of color would expect me to understand their lived experience. And I can wholeheartedly say that campaigning as a woman is not the same thing as campaigning when you are a man. It was part of the reason why Councillors Schwab and Appel frequently went door knocking together. You do not see men door knocking together. There is safety in numbers. As well, there is a different component when you are a stay-at-home mother potentially considering running than when you are a working dad and you have a spouse at home looking after the children. While yes, you are both parents, they are different things, and you have different things as parents to consider whether or not it is feasible and adequate for your family to be able to run for a council or a trustee position. So while I do not negate that being a dad is equally as important and just as difficult as being a mom, they are not the same thing. In that respect, Councillor Schwab made a very good point about having mentors. When you are considering running for a position, whether that be a board trustee for a school board or a council position, or even if you are voting for the very first time, and like I said, voting numbers in our community are extraordinarily low, and I would very much like to encourage more people to get out and vote, particularly women, because across the country, historically, women do not vote in the numbers that men turn out to vote in. And that includes within our community, it includes within Central Alberta, and it includes within Alberta. So yes, I do think that it is important that in this community, we advocate for women to learn about municipal politics, whether they intend to run or not. I think that this is an opportunity for education within our community.
So I'm going to weigh in on this before I go to Councillor Schwab. I will be 100% in favor of this motion for a couple of reasons. First of all, I have the honor of serving on the governance committee for AUMA, and the stats that they bring forward, one of their areas of responsibility is women in politics. One of the stats that they bring forward is that women are underrepresented across the nation, across our province. And although I've, like Councillor Taylor, I've had the privilege of working with many strong women throughout the years in Blackfalds, there could have been hundreds more that would put their name forward and didn't, because they didn't have the mentorship, all those things that Deputy Mayor Stende has alluded to. So I will be 100% in favor of this for those reasons. The second reason is that I believe every effort by council and administration to increase the voting within our community for all groups is really essential. Deputy Mayor Stende is talking about women in politics. We have underrepresented populations within our community that also have not run within our community, and I would hope that we might be able to provide a forum for those folks as well. And I find it very important that we pursue every avenue to get people comfortable being involved. And if that means that we have special committees for any one group, 2 groups, 3 groups, however many are identified, then I would be in favor of it. I also encourage anybody who is feeling like they are possibly having difficulty deciding to do as Councillor Schwab did and reach out to somebody who would mentor it. We have 3 wonderful women on our council. We have a former mayor who would be happy to talk to you. And if you can't contact any of the councillors, we could hook you up with somebody who would be willing to talk to you about it. I also ask for anybody who out there who, for whatever reason, is feeling challenged for running to reach out, and we will hook you up with somebody who would be able to be a mentor for you. So with that respect, I will be 100% in favor of this motion. Councillor Appel.
Thank you. I just had a very quick comment. I find this discussion similar to what we just discussed in regards to the RCMP. So while we have shown historically that property crimes are going down, that doesn't mean that we're going to end advocacy and stop working in that segment. So I feel that Women in Politics is the same way. To continue to advocate for it in the future is a great step.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I'm not advocating not to have women in politics. To be very clear, I'm just saying we have women come in politics, and comparing a single mom to a person who's married with a wife is not comparing apples to apples. Comparing a single dad who has to make those same decisions to a mom is comparing apples to apples. And a parent is a parent. And I do agree. I think we need to encourage people to vote. I think that is absolutely true. Voter apathy has always been a problem. Encouraging people to be on council is a great objective. All I'm saying is the participation has been there. I think encouraging all people to participate in politics or running for a municipal position is a good thing. I think having people involved in their community and passionate about their community is a great thing. I certainly am not saying don't have women on council, because that is farthest thing from what I said. I just said we've had 3 decades of that representation that has been equal across the board, and everybody has to make decisions. Now, if we could help people, encourage people, all people to put in, I'm all for that. I'm just saying putting a lot of effort in something where we already have good representation. I'm not taking anything away from encouraging women to run for council. It's just having to strike committees and do things. I think all people should have that opportunity to put their name in and run an election.
Councillor Hoover, did I see here? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have no trouble supporting some actions to support this initiative. I mean, I was in the military for many years, and there's a similar difference between the number of women and the number of men in the military, and they put a lot of focus in just trying to clarify how this lifestyle, how that lifestyle can fit women, and it has had some effect. So the only concern that I would have in this is because, as I said, the administrative recommendation would have covered the things that Councillor Stende suggested, hers being more specific. My concern would be whether that precludes administration from doing the other things that they considered that weren't specifically in her motion. So I'm just wondering if she would consider at least a friendly amendment to say any other actions that administration considers appropriate on top of what she's already included.
Deputy Mayor?
I do believe that my motion does cover all of those things. If you'd like me to read it again, I would be more than willing to.
Go ahead, please.
It says that that council form a working committee, which will include current councilwomen in administration to formulate and execute plans. So in other words, allowing administration to have input into any of the things that they potentially wanted to do, which is what Councillor Hoover is alluding to, I believe. Encouraging women and persons in minority groups to become more involved and educated with municipal politics, including but not limited to a virtual open house with council women, residents, and trustees.
So, Deputy Mayor, one question I would have in there, if you're including persons with minorities, and I missed that on your first read, could we maybe limit it to any counselor who's interested in attending? Because we could have men who are wishing to go to that committee, and I think that if we're looking at persons underrepresented, then they might benefit from having a man in that committee as well.
So my concern is if you fall into one of those categories, you would more than likely want to be involved, because you could be a mentor for somebody who possibly falls into the LGBTQ+ category. Potentially you are of Asian background and you could be a mentor to someone who has moved here from an Asian country. We do not have anyone on our council currently who, I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, falls under the category of being a person in a minority group. So I do think that it would hinder people who fall in those categories from wanting to be involved. Speaking as a woman, it is easier to speak to women about being a woman, as was evidenced here tonight. I believe that if we had someone who was a person in one of those minority groups, absolutely, they could be included. So if anyone on council identifies as being a person within one of those minority groups, I think that absolutely they should be included in this working committee.
I guess I'm having difficulty with your feeling that if you're including persons of minority that could be men, why a man wouldn't be just as beneficial in your committee. And so with that, CEO Thompson?
Your worship, I'm just wondering if it would be worthwhile to maybe defer this item and allow some additional time for administration to go through the conversations tonight, and maybe bring back something clear for council to consider at the March 9th meeting.
So we have a motion on the table that unless it's withdrawn, we cannot defer. So I will go to Deputy Mayor asking if she wishes to defer or move ahead with her motion. Deputy Mayor?
Unless CEO Thompson has a good reason to defer, I don't see a need to. I think that the motion is quite clear. I think that There have been some very impassioned statements amongst the councillors, those who are in favor and those who are opposed. I would hope that this council is open-minded enough to understand that diversity is a good thing, and that supporting women and persons in minority groups to become involved and educated is a good thing as well. So I would prefer to see my motion stand.
Councillor Olford?
Okay. I've heard the motion 3 times, and I can see where CEO Thompson is getting the wanting to go through the conversation and clean things up. Each one time it's with women and minorities, then the next time it's just women, and then the third time it's with women and minorities. So it'd be helpful to know which motion it completely is. I have nothing against this motion. I think we should have as much mentorship as possible. I remember my first term on council, it was a very steep learning curve, and I wasn't, mentored by anybody really. Nobody came along to me when I put my papers in and said, well, this is what you might want to look at doing and things like that. So anytime you can get some learned advice is helpful. So I would really like a nice clean motion to vote on.
Deputy Mayor Stendy, I don't believe you changed the wording at any of your readings, did you?
I did not. I have read the same one 3 times, but I would be happy to read it for a 4th time if that's what Councillor Olfert wishes.
Do you understand the motion, Councillor Olfert?
If she would read it again, that would be helpful, yes.
I can do so. That council form a working committee, which will include current council women and administration, to formulate and execute plans encouraging women and persons in minority groups to become more involved and educated with municipal politics, including but not limited to a virtual open house with councilwomen, residents, and trustees.
Councillor Taylor?
So in this motion, I would take an understanding that it is men wouldn't know anything about minority groups or anybody in that. We obviously don't understand women because it only can be women on the committee, and we certainly don't understand minority groups because in your motion, men aren't allowed to be there. That's what I get in from your motion, and I disagree with that.
Councillor Powell, were you? Sorry, I thought I saw your hand up. Are there any other comments on this? Well, I am disappointed that we aren't moving ahead with the inclusion of other persons on the committee. I will be voting in favor of it. Without seeing any other members wanting to weigh in on this, then I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is just carried. So we will move into the second part of the motion, which is to recognize March 8th as International Women's Day. Manager Bourne, did you have anything to add on this particular day from what you initially talked about?
I did not, Your Worship. There is the session being put on by Alberta Urban Municipalities Association that I think will be a great opportunity for people to attend if they're interested. We may learn of other initiatives that we'll be able to share through our media channels and things as well. I'm certain there will be some.
Thank you. Councillor Pell?
Thank you. I'm prepared to move that Council recognize March the 8th as International Women's Day.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any debate on that motion? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving along to 6.8. Library Board resignation, CO Thompson.
Thank you, Worship. At the November 3rd, 2020 Municipal Library Board meeting, resignation letter was received from Carol Tobin to resign her position at large, term effective November 3rd, 2020. The Libraries Act states that the board shall consist of no fewer than 5 and no more than 10 members appointed by council, with not more than 2 members of council. It was moved by Councillor Laura Schwab to accept Carol Tobin's resignation with regards, and that was carried unanimously. With this resignation, there is 1 member large vacancy on the Municipal Library Board. As volunteer applications are received throughout the year, this position will remain open until such time as a volunteer candidate for the board comes forward. Therefore, administrative recommendation is that council move to formally accept the resignation of Carol Tobin from the Municipal Library Board effective immediately with regrets.
Thank you. Any debate, any questions on that? Would somebody wish to make a motion? Councillor Appel?
Thank you. Actually, I have a question.
Go ahead.
And it's something that we've discussed previously, but I would just like clarification. We had discussed previously that the potential to list vacant board positions on our website and to advertise to actively try to fill those positions. And I was just wondering if that's something that will be happening with this vacancy.
Your Worship, through the Councillor Appel, definitely that will be something we undertake.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Councillor Olford?
I'm prepared to move.
Thank you. Debate on the motion? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving on, we have no action correspondence. Moving on to the information items. We'll go through one at a time, and I believe that a couple of them are going to be spoken to. So we'll start off with volunteer recognition awards. And did you want anybody to speak on that?
Sorry, Your Worship, I just have to bring that item up. Your Worship, if I could ask Manager Bourne to present this item.
Thank you. Manager Bourne.
Absolutely, Your Worship and Council. So as we're all aware, as our pandemic response continues, 2021 Volunteer Recognition Awards are going to look a little differently again this year. We had some great success with innovation last year and combining our Culture Days celebrations. And this year we are looking at an entirely new format. So we have had in the past, several events that take place. National Volunteer Recognition, National Volunteer Week, we do a recognition event for community volunteers. And then because we have so many amazing volunteers in our community, we've had to split our events and do a youth recognition event during National Youth Week in May. So I imagine this year our numbers are a little bit lower. People were not able to volunteer as actively in the community. The lack of events taking place, the inability for people to gather definitely put a damper on some of our volunteering. That's not to say that we didn't have exceptional volunteers involved in so many of our initiatives and really keeping the community engagement, community development spirit alive. So what our intentions are this year, we've got some great support with our marketing and communications. We're going to be looking at some videography, and what we are planning to do is during our National Volunteer Week, we're going to we have had several great volunteer nominations come in, so we don't need to be too terribly worried. We are soliciting and we're encouraging and we're in touch with all of our volunteer groups. We've had amazing Volunteer of the Year nominations come forward in the past, and these people that we have seen nominations for have been lifelong volunteers in our community. So we are encouraging all nominators to ensure that they put forward their volunteers. We've had some wonderful nominations come in. And so what we're going to do during National Volunteer Week is we're going to arrange to have some private sessions take place where we'll have a videographer, very few individuals involved, members of council, and we will bring in hopefully to council chambers and do a small ceremony, tape everything so that we can then build a sort of a video that can be trailer-like. So that when we do host a community event, which will be a drive-in movie on May 14th, because that is something that we know is a COVID-friendly community event that can take place, then we can have this wonderful video celebrating all of our community volunteers receiving their awards. And so that'll be very exciting. We will stay in very closely paying attention to the health recommendations that are current at the time to ensure that everything that we have scheduled to take place is being done appropriately. All of our volunteers will be receiving tokens of appreciation from the FCSS office. We will arrange either delivery or pickup, whatever people are available to do. And we will also invite everyone who has volunteered actively to stop by the FCSS office for picking up a token of appreciation as well. And as I mentioned, we will then have a community volunteer drive-in movie taking place on the 14th of May with that wonderful video that we'll have available to use in future as well. So we're using our usual social media channels, our website, our events calendar, and our FCSS newsletter to share the word of all of the marketing. And we look forward to having council involved in roles as of yet to be determined as per public health recommendations. And we wanted to just sort of present this information as a bit of yet another new way to celebrate community, another new way to do things this year. And it is all about being innovative and making sure that our people are feeling appreciated and providing opportunity for people to get together as best we can.
So we still have until March 1st to accept volunteer nominations.
Absolutely.
So anybody out there who's watching, if you have somebody that you would like to put forward, please do so. Thank you for that, Manager Bourne.
Thank you.
Moving on to did anybody on council have any questions or comments that they wish to make before we move on? I don't have everybody's face in front of me, so if somebody wishes to speak up, please do so. Okay, we will move on to 8.2, Eagle Builders Multiplex Project Update, and Director Barnes.
Hey, Your Worship and Council, the project's at 50% completion. It's taken us 7 months to get where we're at now. The windows and doors are going in as we speak, and those doors and windows should be done probably the end of March, so we'll be 100% closed in. Also, the plant room's getting beefed up. There's new compressors and condensers that are going in, and that should be done by the end of April. So in May, that's when they'll be putting in the ice floor. So pouring the floor for the ice there. So it's moving along. We did have 2 tours today. The first tour was with the library board. They were just blown away by the square footage. They liked the layout and they're speechless. So maybe tomorrow I'll give Carly a chat and see how she thought of it. So yeah, they were pretty speechless on it. And then the council tour took place at 4 in Your Worship, and council members that were there, what did you guys think of it?
Anybody want to weigh in on that? Councillor Taylor? Did I see your hand up?
Yeah, it's on mute.
You're on mute.
There, is that better?
Yes.
I thought it was amazing. I like the grasp of that project for what it's going to do for the future of a municipality, and just going in there, there's a presence. It's certainly to think for the money that we're spending on that and the value we're getting out of it is, I mean, we definitely bought low in the stock market to build it. You're looking at a legacy for this community, just of opportunity. And it's not just, the arena is just not for recreation, it's for culture. The things that are going to come for the next 20 years for our municipality because of it is going to be remarkable. It's going to support businesses, but the work and the features that are there, it's going to be a highlight, I would say, for the province, you know, to come and take a look at and say, look what Blackfalds did with this much money, and look at what they've got. Look at, I'm going to predict that we're going to have one of the best hockey teams in the province. I think we're going to be the winning team. So.
Councillor Pell, did I see your hand up?
Yes, thank you. It was a real treat to walk through there today and to see how far it's come since the middle of November when we were there, and even the work that was completed on some of the outside walls from the time we arrived until the time we left was it's just really inspiring to see. So excited to see it at its next stage.
Did anybody else wish to weigh in? Director Barnes?
Just one thing, just to let everyone know out there that we are on budget, and they are guaranteeing us to get the keys on September 2nd. So we'll see how that goes. They're moving along. Once they're closed in here by the third week of March, you're going to see the interior going a great gun. So we'll see if they can make that deadline.
From my perspective, going through the building, first of all, I'd like to thank all the workers who were in there. They're doing a fantastic job. Eagle Builders with their precast, it was amazing to see all the building in there and the work that they've done. The workers are working really hard. It's just an amazing project. I'd like to thank our architects and Eagle Builders for their assistance in helping us move this project forward. Looking forward to it, and we're going to have a facility that we will be proud of when it opens. A recent economic development meeting I was at, they said people don't move to a community for their houses, they move to it for their amenities, and this will be an amenity that we can be proud of for many, many years to come. Anybody else wish to make a comment? Not hearing any, we'll move on to 8.3 and the municipal internship program. If we could have the letter brought up for that. Anybody have any comments on that? Not seeing any. Moving on to 8.4, gas tax funding approval from Municipal Affairs. We appreciate the gas tax fund. I think it's a fund that the government has been providing for many years, and I'm hoping that they find a way to manage to keep this fund as an important part of ongoing funding for municipalities. Moving on to the FCSS board meetings for January 14th. Questions, comments? 8.6, Lacombe County Council highlights. Questions, comments? If I don't see your hand up, please just weigh in because I can't see everybody. And 8.7, City of Lacombe Council highlights. Question, comments? Not seeing any, I'll ask somebody for a motion to receive as information, all the information items. I can't see everybody up there. Councillor Hoover.
I'll motion to accept all information items as information.
Debate on that motion? All in favor? I can't see everybody, so is anybody opposed? Not hearing anybody, we will call that unanimous. Moving on to the round table. We will start off with Councillor Appel.
Thank you very much. I don't have anything specific to add to my list that's there. Yeah, it was a bit of a slower month as we get back into the swing of things here, moving into the new year.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Stenbay?
I do not have anything to add. It is all there and it is all public.
Thank you. Councillor Schwab?
I just want to say the St. Greg's School Board meeting was great. The intermediate campus in St. Greg's are looking at putting in another piece of playground equipment. It's called a Gaga pit. So right now they're just doing some research and then they're going to bring it forth to the town to see if it's feasible for that area. So if you want to look up Gaga, is G-A-G-A and pit, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. And St. Greg's is doing a readathon this month and just encouraging reading for all those children. Keep up the great work, guys. That's it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Taylor? Did you have anything to add, Councillor Taylor?
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. I don't have anything to add. It's open and honest there. Maybe one thing, the chamber will be, the president of the chamber will be stepping down. He won't be continuing his term. So when the next election's coming up, he announced that he's hoping somebody else will be able to take over the position as president of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you for that. Moving on, Councillor Olford?
No, I don't have anything to add. It was a quieter month for me, which was odd.
And Councillor Hoover?
I guess the only thing that I'd like to point out, the NPC, or Municipal Planning Commission, met twice in this period, and actually MPC has met quite a few times, more than usual in the last 3 months, and where typically MPC deals with development variances. We've actually dealt a lot more with home-based business approvals. I don't know if this is a trend where more people are looking to work from home, or whether this is just more people that are actually complying with municipal requirements to get approval for this. But we have approved quite a few home-based businesses, a lot of them in the aesthetics realm. But it is good to see that there is a trend for there to be more legitimate home-based businesses in our community, and hopefully people will support those initiatives.
Thank you. For myself, it's actually been a fairly busy month. A couple of things that I do want to point out is that the extended producer warranty legislation, I had a couple of webinars, the first one put on by AUMA and the second one by the RCA, and they are talking and they are really promoting the idea that the producer packages and is already paying for packaging that they are putting into their products, and that the province of Alberta and municipalities should be getting money back in order to put into our basically our transfer programs. So we're encouraging the provincial government to move forward top speed on that, and hopefully in the near future we'll be finding ways to get money back into the municipal budgets from that initiative, and that would go directly in, that would probably go directly into our decreasing our recycling fees. I also was part of the Central Alberta Crime Prevention Center annual meeting. They are very active. They work very hard within Central Alberta. Our victim services is an active member of that and was part of that virtual webinar as well, and talked about their efforts within our community. And finally, I attended 2 virtual conferences on the President's Summit on AUMA, President Summit on Policing in Alberta. The first one was discussing the different aspects of policing and how new funding has impacted communities. The second one was more directed at the transitional study that will be coming forward on an Alberta policing force. And I encourage all the counselors and anybody who's watching this to become very active and informed regarding this subject, as it's going to be something that will be very important in the future to at least know about and to have an opinion about. And with that, I will move on to asking for a motion to accept the Councillor Roundtable for information. And Councillor Schwab?
I'll move to accept all the roundtable as information.
Thank you very much. Debate on that motion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. So moving on to adoption of minutes, the regular council meetings on February 9th, 2021. Are there any errors or omissions? Not seeing any?
Actually, sorry, Mayor Poole, I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Under action correspondence, action correspondence, the Municipal District of Bonnyville's letter, the FCM conference that Deputy Mayor Stendy was referring to was actually the conference that was held in Quebec, not one that was held in Eastern Ontario.
So that was under resolution number.
It was just above. It was in the description above resolution 41/21. One could refer to Quebec as Eastern Ontario, but I don't believe that they appreciate that.
I think that can be accepted as a friendly amendment. Yes.
Thank you.
Were there any other changes? Not seeing any. Could I get a motion to accept the minutes as presented? I again can't see everybody's hand, so if
I'll just continue on. I'll go ahead and accept them as amended.
And that's Councillor Pell?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Debate on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Not hearing any, that is carried unanimously. Notices of motion, does anybody wish to come forward with the notice of motion? There's nothing under good of the council. So at this time, it's time for council to move from its open agenda into its closed agenda. For those who are watching, I'd like to thank you for watching and hope you have a good evening. Could I have somebody to make a motion for a break? Councillor Schwab?
I'll move for a 5-minute recess.
Debate on that motion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously at 9:08.